Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Writing Quest podcast. A little bit different,
A little bit new.
This is episode 1, and we thought we'd start this series. We have our main series called Writing Quest, where we're writing our book.
Huzzah!
But then we thought we really do like just talking about all the other stuff we like to talk about. Books we're reading, stories in general.
Bullcrap
So
media.
this will just be a conversation. Maybe someday we'll have guests. That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, welcome to the Writing Quest podcast. Whoopah, whoopah. All right, so today, what do you want to talk about? I guess we should probably talk about Mistborn.
Okay. So, in the last episode in episode 7 of Writing Quest, I talk about how I'm reading Lord of the Rings. And I've never read Lord of the Rings all the way through before.
Yeah.
I love it. I've loved it since I was a kid. But I read through Fellowship, and then I took a break for about 3 months. And then I came back to Two Towers, and I read the first half of Two Towers. And I'm in the middle of the second half of Two Towers, also known as 3/4 of the way through the Two Towers. And I realized, like, I'm not... I really want to get motivated about writing, and I feel like I know the story of Lord of the Rings so well, even though there's so much more.
Extra. You know the gist of the story.
I know the gist of it, so it's like, I know what's going to happen. I know the big plot points that are going to happen, so I still want to check off Lord of the Rings off my list, but I am officially DNFing Lord of the Rings for the year.
What does that mean? I don't know all
How
these...
do you not know what DNFing means?
I don't know all these lingo-y things you say.
You need to get with the times, dude. Okay,
I'm
DNFing...
a bit older than him.
It means did not finish.
Oh, okay.
Ta-da. So instead...
You'll come back to it, though. I mean...
Oh, yeah. No, that's going to be like my Christmas book, you know?
Yeah.
So, which, by the way, I'm starting Harry Potter on October 31st, and I'm ending on Christmas Day. Happening.
Okay.
Cool. But yeah, so instead, I wanted to try something that I've never read before, and that is Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn. Came out in, I think, 2012.
You know what I learned about him today? Because I started that lecture, and then I was trying to look up just different books. So I've known about him. Obviously, he's a big name for a while.
Yeah.
I've just never really looked into what he's done and all that stuff.
Of course.
He, I think, kind of, from what I understand, okay, I can be corrected. He kind of coined the terms for hard and soft magic. Like that came from him. Like he was the one who kind of defined that. Because
Interesting.
Tolkien didn't. He obviously his is soft magic, but he didn't have that name for it. He just did what he wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
So, So I think I don't know. So I picked it up today too, but I have only read a few pages. So what do you think so far?
Okay, so the first thing is I have a book buying problem. I can't go into Barnes & Noble without leaving with a book.
You just can't go in
every single time. All of these books,
except for a couple,
except for these ones and the Harry Potters, I've bought within the last 2 months.
You have a problem.
I have a problem. And I've read...
None of them?
That much of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Well, I really want to get through Sherlock Holmes. And start some Shakespeare. And I want to reread Name of the Wind and Wise Man's Fear.
Yeah.
Patrick Rothfuss. Anyway, so Mistborn. I bought this trilogy, I bought them a week apart. As if I was saving money or something.
Or somehow, reading them and...
Reading them, all that stuff. But Lord of the Rings was taking a lot of time. So, I like it a lot. I've known about it for a while. I remember when it was first recommended to me, I was in a coffee shop, and I was talking to a good friend of mine. His name's JP. And he was like, dude, I found you a book. And I was like, no, you didn't. And he was like, no, I found you a book. It's this cool series where he's like, imagine Harry Potter, but Voldemort wins. And I was like, whoa.
So I got turned on to it by watching Murphy Napier.
I say Murphy Napier.
Okay.
But to make it sound bougie, she's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And she does a really great job. I love her stuff.
She said in one of her videos that she didn't really get into the science fiction fantasy stuff until she read Mistborn because the magic system was so cool.
Oh.
So that was where... And you know how my relationship with magic systems... And so if Brandon Sanderson defined hard and soft magic, I must read because I hate it and suck at it. It's not that I hate it. I love magic. It just
doesn't like you.
Well, and it's so like, you gotta just do...
You either have to make rules, or you just have to live without them.
He said, one of his quotes about it is like, the more you use magic to define the plot, the more rules it has to have.
Right.
It can't, like, you can't just be like, just cuz. Like, that doesn't work.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah. So anyways, so far it's very good. You like it?
I like it a lot. I read the prologue, loved it. I read the first chapter, loved it. It's, you know how in a lot of books, you have to read it for a bit, and you have to like, okay, where am I? Who am I? What?
Trying to figure out just the landscape of what's happening.
Exactly. I read the prologue in the first chapter. Mm-hmm. I knew everything that was happening. I could see it clearly in my brain. Mm-hmm. And and they're not long chapters either. He didn't use flowery language or anything.
Yeah.
He just...
I got into a pretty big rut, and that was kind of the reason. So... A few years ago, I was pretty much just in the cycle of reading the same things. Like, I was reading Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and, like, just the same, like, I just kind of was reading the same
stuff that you were going through.
A little bit of Star Wars, which I love the new Star Wars stuff, but it's not hyper new because it's still Star Wars. So it's not like it's a new story in the world, you know?
Yeah.
But I realized when I started these... Like, when I would start new books, I'd get frustrated, and I realized the reason I was getting frustrated is because I hadn't had to, like, learn new characters in a long time.
And you were just like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, and I'd like, open it, and I'd read a couple of pages, and I'd be like, what is going on? Yeah,
It's because you don't know what's going on.
Exactly. And so I had to kind of, like, retrain my reading brain to be like... This is a good thing. This is a good problem.
Stretching your brain.
Yeah.
Exercise.
And so now I started this. I read like 4 pages before something happened and I got interrupted. And I was like, I've avoided looking anything up about it. I don't know anything about what I'm getting into reading it, so I'm kind of excited about that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am currently reading. So I said in episode 7, I was doing like Harry Potter and a bunch of stuff. But I'm also listening to, because I have a problem, I'm listening to The Wheel of Time on audiobook in the car.
Right.
Which, the first audiobook is like 36 hours or something crazy.
That's crazy to me. But okay.
And then they just keep getting longer. Like, Brady sent me our older brother, Brady, for those who don't know. He got through to the end in like the last book. There's one chapter that's like 9 hours. So, but that was the other reason that turned me on to Brandon Sanderson, is that he finished that series. So,
oh, sweet.
And they all read the same.
I feel like God edited the universe without me knowing. And
yes.
And he he changed the world and added Brandon Sanderson in. But he forgot to tell me. And so now I'm learning about him, and I'm like, this is everything I need to be reading right now. So
yeah, it's actually kind of amazing because he's been around forever and he's got a lot of good stuff, and I've just never read any of it.
I've never heard about it. It's so past my sphere of influence that
Yeah. Okay, next subject that we got to talk about.
Writing.
Loki. Holy whoa. Spoilers. We're going to have some spoilers. I'm just saying it out loud.
Seriously. Okay, if you haven't caught MCU's latest and finest on Disney Plus, Loki is impressing me.
They bombed the sacred timeline.
That was so cool. Timeline. That was a neat touch. Who do you think it is? Who do you think the woman is at the end?
So I did do some online digging, and some of the rumors have been out for months that it's like there. So what I can't figure out is Lady Loki and Enchantress.
Yeah.
Some places I looked talked about that like they were the same.
Interesting.
But other places were like, no, there's a female version of Loki, and there's Enchantress, who is separate.
Okay.
But not the DC Comics Enchantress. Not
different Enchantress.
Very different. But so yeah. I think. Well, I don't know.
So here's my thing. I never read the comics growing up. I caught on. I watched Iron Man 1, and then I watched Incredible Hulk.
And then you got yourself hooked into it.
And then that's how I got hooked into it. So, I was not a nerd. Well, I was a nerd growing up, but I wasn't a Marvel nerd growing up. And ever since, I've just been diving deeper and deeper and deeper. But I do remember, about 2011, they were talking, or a show came on. What was it? It was like Nickelodeon or something. I can't remember. But it was Avengers Assembled.
Oh, yeah.
And it was this golden age of cartoon where it came out and it was glorious and it was just...
And then after the Avengers movie came out, they changed it, I think?
No. Avengers movie came out the next year. And so it ran for 3 seasons, and it was because they were leading up. They were trying to teach children what was coming, I think. And it came out, but then, wasn't it after Avengers came out that Disney bought Marvel?
Somewhere around that. It was like right before, right at,
I think it was when Disney bought Marvel. Yeah. I think they scrapped it because they made a new Avengers show
called Avengers Assembled.
Oh no, I was talking Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes. That was the one that I watched.
Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes ended, and then they started Avengers Assemble after the new Avengers movie came out. Because they kind of rebranded. It's like, well, this is the new one because we have the movie to back,
Yeah, even though I watched both, but they're the exact same show, just one's made by Disney.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sorry, I'm bringing this back to Enchantress and Loki. I remember Enchantress being a completely separate person. Yeah. So that's how I know her.
Well, and, if you're looking at timey-wimey,
wibbly-wobbly,
the butterfly effect stuff thing, Loki could totally be a female in a different universe. So either way, it's gonna be really cool. And I think I was really nervous with the first episode. It was awesome. But the timey-wimey stuff gets me frustrated sometimes.
Because sometimes they just delete things that we love.
Yeah, my first thought watching it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Please don't make Endgame not matter.
Because if you do, we don't care about this anymore.
Right. And then, or it's either that, where it's like they start making everything that's come before it irrelevant, or they do it's in a bubble and it doesn't matter at all.
Except Loki is changed on the other side.
Right. Which to me is obviously character change does drive most everything, but that's not enough. Yeah. It's just dangerous.
It's dangerous territory.
I think that they've handled the timey-wimey good.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think
that is never a sentence I thought I would say. I think they've handled the timey-wimey good.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Merch idea. T-shirt. I think they've handled the timey-wimey good.
Genius. Buy it at our stores.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think Loki's great. I think, for me, I don't know if it's going to be WandaVision.
No, WandaVision was something special.
It beats Falcon Winter Soldier. Falcon Winter Soldier's good. It was a good story, but...
It wasn't your cup of tea.
No, I really like it, but it was kind of like watching Captain America, the First Avenger, but for 2021.
Right.
Where it's it's a great movie. I love it, but it's not shocking. Nothing crazy exciting happens. It's not a mind bender. Not that everything has to be. It's a good story.
Yeah.
Loki and WandaVision have so far proven to be much, just really good.
Yeah. I agree. Which, I think, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I like it a lot. Let's see. Oh, I got one. You ready? Well, wait, no, shoot. I want a different one. Now we can use this one.
What is happening?
Doctor Who.
Okay.
I can't remember. How much did you ever watch?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. We skipped some episodes. That was a long time ago.
That was a hot minute ago. We started with the first season, but you're like,
Yeah, first season was pretty rough. And
2005 graphics. It was bad.
I think we got up to...
Didn't we start Matt Smith or something?
We either got to Matt Smith or Peter Capaldi, one of those two. Somewhere in there. Because Peter Capaldi's after Matt Smith, right?
Yeah.
It was somewhere in there.
Yeah. Okay.
We started skipping around a little, I think, to watch just the better episodes.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We watched the Angels episode, I remember, for sure.
No, I never watched that one because you said it was scary. I don't do scary.
Yeah, but
I don't do scary, putting that on the record.
Half a Doctor Who is scary, though, so put on your big boy diaper and just watch it.
I don't want to. I don't like the scary.
It adds suspense. It adds some spice.
Doctor Who wasn't quite my cup of tea. I didn't...
Yeah.
I think... I'm glad I've watched enough of it that I understand, it in pop culture, but I'm not probably ever going to be, a fanboy of it.
Yeah, I understand that. I've dropped off the radar a little bit. I did recently just watch season 12 of Doctor Who. And I don't know if it's because I'm binge watching it or it's just not, David Tennant or something. But it's just they're not quite, the show isn't quite catching me anymore. Mm-hmm. Could be because I'm older. But something, I think I did figure it out though. It's because right now, in the past, at least of the reboot, right? All of the Doctors have had a familial and or romantic tie to their companions. Mm-hmm. And right now, with Jodie Whittaker, at least, okay, maybe in the later parts of the second season. But before then, basically everyone is just friends.
Right.
And there's 3 companions.
There's not really any
just friends.
Yeah.
And Amy with Matt Smith in season 5, right? She was the girl who waited. Right? And so she waited her entire life for the Doctor to come back. And he did. And and they were so tied because of things that the Doctor did, but her friends are just coming around with her, so I'm hoping for some better companions, which if you haven't seen Doctor Who season 12, about spoilers, so here's your chance. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So 2 of the companions left at the end of that season. I'm really excited to see what they do with it because there's 1 remaining, and I hope that they bring in more because we need some better stuff. So,
is there anything in the science fiction fantasy pipeline that's coming down the road that you're excited about?
Black Widow.
Right?
Dude, about frickin' time. I wanted, as soon as Iron Man 2 came out and then Avengers 2 happened, Age of Ultron, I wanted a Black Widow movie. And they're finally doing it. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, and it's actually got delayed for a whole year and a half, basically. And so I'm that'll be my return to the movie theater. Well, I gotta go see Fast 9.
That's true.
Because if you ain't watching the Fast and Furious movies...
thing that's great about the Fast and Furious
weird,
movies...
sneaky, franchise. I just love it.
It is... It's not it's good writing really, or nothing, It's whatever.
It's cheesy and corny and things blow... it's completely ridiculous.
But it's got the explosions. It's got the one-liners.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's amazing. I like it because they also kind of, overcame the odds. Marvel overcame some odds, but at a certain point, basically once they hit... after Avengers... It's kind of
they're
doing it.
They can do whatever they want. Yeah.
But the Fast and Furious has definitely been like, it's kind of hope we I don't know what we're doing.
Space cars.
I just don't even care anymore. I'm gonna go watch them all. They're awesome.
Did you see
Black Widow? Yeah,
Black Widow is exciting. Did you see that photo? And it was like Fast and Furious 1, and they're like in cars, and it's like Fast and Furious 17. It's the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
They have so someone asked the screenwriter, the guy who's, I don't think he wrote the last one, but he's written like pretty much all of them. Mm-hmm. They were like, "Is space out of the question? Like cars on the moon?" And he goes, "Well, nothing's ever off the table."
Good.
So basically, you've all but confirmed we're gonna drive space cars on the moon.
Genius.
For some
inexplicable space moon heist.
Mr. Nobody is gonna tell us, and we're just gonna believe him because it's Kurt Russell.
Not Kurt Russell.
He's also Santa Claus.
Spoiler
alert.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'd believe Santa Claus. Yeah, anything you told me.
Yeah.
Cool. Next thing. So this podcast isn't about talking about of wolves and wizards.
But we can.
We can. But I did want to talk about writing goals. So like you personally and me personally.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you got? What are you looking at?
Okay.
What projects do you have on the table?
Okay. So, well, if you find out in episode 7 of Writing Quest that I got married, which is really exciting.
That was episode 6, I think.
Episode 6? Oh, yeah, that was episode 6.
Yeah.
And everything dropped off because, I was trying to adjust to new life and everything. The things they don't tell you about being an author, an aspiring author anyway, it's like, oh yeah, life still happens.
Life still happens, yeah.
But now that I'm back, things that I'm thinking about is, previously I was thinking, I was writing a book centered on a character called Captain Henry Saxon.
Mm-hmm. A pirate captain.
A pirate.
Is he a pirate, or is he just pirate-esque?
He is, so he was at first a sea mage, right?
Whatever that is.
Essentially, he was a sailor, an admiral, who was, he was magic and, he used it in his seafaring adventures. There was a coup that happened, and he just so happened to be on the wrong side of it. And then he goes into hiding, and he's labeled as a pirate, but he's really just fighting this new regime. Right. So he's the famous pirate mage. He was famous from the wars before. He's famous now.
So now he's turned into more of a myth and a legend.
A myth and a legend. A little bit of Han Solo in there. His ship flies.
A little bit of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. He's very full of himself, and he knows it.
Yeah. He's full of himself. And he knows he's full of himself, which is
he loves it. He's totally all about it. So that's been pretty. That was a really good story.
So is that going to be like the Pirate Mage trilogy?
Something like that. Yeah. I don't know. That could be good. But so I was writing that for a while, and I wrote. I think I got 17,000 words in on that one. Significant, but
You're having some story problems.
I'm having some story problems, and that's mainly motivation. So it's mainly setting and plot is the two things. I love all of my characters, not just Captain Henry Saxon. I think that all of my characters mesh really well together. I like my villains and everything. But in terms of plot, the things that they do, it's lacking the setting. I don't know the world well enough.
Right.
So
you don't have the world, and then having the backstory to know why anyone's doing what they're doing.
So I have another book called The Heroes of Hala, right?
Okay.
Which is it's basically a creation story. It's an Adam and Eve story, and the idea is, imagine the Silmarillion, Lord of the Rings, Tolkien's creation story, and imagine the first elves waking up,
right,
and then going about their day to day. And then, really, it's all about them surviving, because the Dark Lord Malik is what I'm calling him. That's a name in progress. He's pursuing them. It's all about surviving and learning, and also the creation of magic, which
has interested you a lot.
It has interested me a lot. I want to know what the beginning of magic is from the beginning. Like, the idea is that there are no ancients. There is no before. Like, so talking about that, and essentially it comes down to everything in the universe speaks the language of creation, right? The elves don't at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so the elves come up with their own language just to talk to each other, really. And then the elves have a translator, which is an angelic being who can teach the earth, teach trees, teach animals what the words mean that the elves are saying.
Right.
So it's kind of like, imagine if you had a dog and you wish that you could just tell them something, but you need a translator to tell them in dog speak. And then all of a sudden they tell that dog, and that dog may or may not be able to tell the rest of the dogs, but then all of a sudden you can talk to the dog in your own language, but it knows what you're talking about.
Right.
So nature, if you befriend it, so the elves are goody-goody with trees. They take care of trees. Trees like them, so trees like to do what they do. A Dark Lord could speak the same language, but the trees, unless they were fooled, would be like, nah, not doing that. So,
interesting territory.
Interesting territory. A little bit harder in that it's all about language.
Gotta find what the actual story is.
Story is. I'm taking it in sections, so I'm doing the Eve character on her own. I'm doing the Adam character on his own. And then I'm doing them falling in love and meeting each other. And then I'm doing their adventure. And their adventure is going to be saving the Eve character's caretaker mother, who's also an angelic-ish kind of being, saving that person from Malik. And so we're going to see how that all kind of goes. But that's it. That's the adventure.
Right.
They go, they find them, and the idea is that, like, they are told their entire lives that they're going to meet their significant other. They do, but it's not what they thought. Yeah. And then, but then they come around and, like, that's Act 2 is like, I don't know if I could be with this person for eternity.
Right.
And father a race with them, you know. But then afterwards they're like, oh yeah, we could do this for eternity.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good thing. That's kind of the story.
Yeah. And then anything else?
That's what I'm trying to write.
Of Wolves and Wizards.
Of Wolves and Wizards, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Come on, buddy.
That's a given. But as a personal writing goals, that's what I'm going to do. Like, I want to get that book done November 30th. I want to hold it in my hands.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's kind of similar. I don't have a desire to ever create anything outside of the world I've already started.
Fair.
Because it's already got plenty of stuff. So, of Wolves and Wizards obviously is a priority. I would love if we could have the first draft of that by like the end of the year would be cool.
That's not hefty. Ugh.
Well, not really if you think, I mean, if we wrote 1,000 words a week each, that gets us, and that's just a week.
Yeah, I guess, that's true. That's true.
That gets us pretty far.
I mean, so we got to really keep at it, man.
Yeah, so I'd love to, I'm really liking where that story's going. That book, currently, in my current outline, in my world, I've got about 19 different books etched in, just kind of like penciled in.
Loosely,
here's a timeline of like I know where my main trilogy sits, and then I kind of built around that. A couple of standalones, a couple of other trilogies.
Stories you want to explore.
Short stories. Yeah, like they're mostly just the idea of like, okay, I know this happened. This is an interesting, like in my original trilogy, I have a dark elf character that I really like. Ballerin is his name. And
Ballerin.
Basically, like, I just thought this character is really interesting. And so I just kind of placed like a standalone novel in the timeline.
Yeah, you just want to
just like, here's this trilogy and that. I'm just going to put that right there. So, Of Wolves and Wizards currently is the first book of that timeline.
Right. That's as early back as history goes.
As of now. So, we've got that, and then I've got a couple of trilogies. So I want to focus on Of Wolves and Wizards, and then I'm also writing my original trilogy. I created a character called Emmerich Ironside, and he is the current leader of what I call the Knights of Whiteforge, which is a order of knights that is ancient, that humans, all humans. They're of the human race, not of dwarves or elves or anything like that.
Very monastic, kind of, like you're in for good.
Like you're in for good. It's like a brotherhood type of order, you know. So he's the current leader of that, and I just thought one day he's a cool, like in the original book I describe him as being like a big, burly, husky, like, you know, like imagine like a super strong paladin from Warcraft 3 or like Dungeons and Dragons. Like he's just got all the big armor and the big warhammer, and he's just like this
righteousness.
Yeah. But I thought, so I called him Emmerich Ironside, and I just had this thought of like, how did he get that name? And then what would happen if he was a little weaker and he wasn't the big imposing person
that he is now?
So I started a book that's going to be a trilogy called the Whiteforge Trilogy, which is going to be the story of Emmerich Ironside. Mm-hmm. And so I'm currently in the first book, writing the first draft of that first book, which is called Iron Will. So it's going to be the Whiteforge Trilogy, Iron Will. His name is Emmerich Lewis. So he has a normal last name because it's the story of like how he becomes
weird, man.
Emmerich Ironside.
Oh, that sounds weird.
But I'm really pumped about it. So it's a much smaller story. So my original first draft that I booked, which at some point I'll share, I don't know. I'm pretty protective of it because it's the first book I ever wrote. I mean, it sucks.
You're getting there.
But it's a good, you know. So, but that one has so many characters and like all that, like it's really hard to balance.
Right.
And so this one has been fun because it's super tiny.
It's almost a bottle episode, kind of.
Yeah. So, hold on. The idea is that he's a ship captain in the Brightvale Navy, which Brightvale is the main human capital city, I suppose. He's a ship captain. He's kind of middle rank kind of guy, but he does have his own ship that he runs. They're on some kind of mission at the beginning of the book, but the book opens and they're in a storm. Mm-hmm. The ship runs aground, shipwreck, and now they're on a deserted island. That's where one of my kind of inspirations for that was Arrow, which I love Arrow. Great. So I was kind of like a bug. So it's kind of like a, like taking parts of Arrow to the deserted island thing. They shipwreck and they're like, oh crap, we're shipwrecked. But then it turns out they're not alone. And then the story kind of unfolds from that.
And then he comes out the other side.
Yes.
As Emmerich Ironside.
Yeah, well, and then the trilogy story will be, by the end of the trilogy, he'll be Emmerich Ironside.
So wait, when does he get the name, and does he justify it afterwards? Do we get to see that, or is it like at the very end? Emmerich Ironside.
I don't know. Someone at some point is going to call him that, and it's just going to stick, I think, is how I'm going to do it. Like, something's going to happen, they're going to fight a battle, he's going to get stabbed with an iron sword in the side, but take it like a man, and then they'll like, someone will be like, well, Emmerich Ironside over there, and then it'll just stick.
Right.
Something like that. So,
or it's the men have taken to calling him Emmerich Ironside.
So and then in the other, like, it's really fun because in the other book there's some different characters that I can tie in when they're younger. Mm-hmm. So, like, I have a bandit captain named Dorgan Hallow, and in that book, they hate each other. So, in this one, I'm going to make him someone who they actually become friends, so that's kind of side story of, like, how they actually were friends, and then they
Well, that's going to change how you write enemies.
That. Yeah. So, but I said the other day, what's really cool, how I have this whole world already kind of built out, and I'm kind of placing these novels, just knowing, like, if I know that this novel is here, like, I just can know, or if I create a character in this book, I go, okay, that could actually tie in really well here. So I'm just liking that I don't have to retcon as much because it's not as written, so I can kind of write it all.
It's a little fluid. You can
do.
It's nice. Speaking of the book you've already written,
and then the final part of that will be I'm going back into revision mode on that, my first book, to just keep plowing through that.
How's that going?
Word by word.
Word by word. Well, now it's going to be harder because with Dorgan Hollow, and he plays such a big part in that book, so it's almost like you want to make sure that you get this Emergard side done really well.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's where I'm at. I got those 3 projects. Wolves and Wizards, and then Iron Will, and then revising, which is kind of always happening. I don't know. Every once in a while I just pick it up and I'm like,
do a little.
Yeah.
So here's my thing.
Yeah.
I was watching a lecture by Brandon Sanderson, which, if possible, we're going to put in the description of this thing, a link in the description. He was talking about how stick with it. Just stick with it. I don't ever see myself being a full-time writer, but I do want to write and publish my books, and I want to do that within the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And those are just kind of always constantly growing and changing and stuff. So I want to get that done. You want to get that done earlier than that, I hope, because you're already 10 years in.
Yeah, I'm a ways in.
So that's pretty much what this podcast is about, a little bit. It's kind of telling that story. A little bit different than of Wolves and Wizards, which is the main content of our channel. Yeah,
I think this is really just a good way to talk about all the struggles we may have or things we're into. Because a lot of, like I said, Arrow kind of informed that story. Well, Arrow is completely random compared to this story, but just how those different influences
comes together
and all that stuff. So
I'm excited to see. I want to see your book, like, on my shelf.
Yeah.
Signed by you.
See, the difference that I have with my story versus you were saying you're struggling with, like, world building and setting and all that kind of stuff. When I first started writing, and I had I had never once thought that was something that I would want to do.
You were a drummer in a band.
Well, I was So I worked in a factory, an assembly line factory, making coffee pots. Which is all of a sudden, when you're doing mundane work, when you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, your mind starts to,
keep going.
And so I just had the idea, this spark of an idea, and so I pretty much spent like a whole year just like working in a factory all like 8 hours a day. I'm just doing this normal thing. So my brain is just like in the background running this whole, and then on my breaks I'd like take notes on my iPod or whatever I had. I think I had an iPod Touch. I didn't even have an iPhone.
Whoa.
So I was literally like, I'd go in and I'd work, for 2-3 hours, however it was, before the first break, and my brain was just like, blah, 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 and then I'd sit on break and I'd like type down everything that I could remember that I thought of, and then I would work. And I did that for like a year. And what sucks is I've lost the original notes that I had. So I had to rebuild a lot of it. But I still had a long time where I was just like... So I've had this back... So for me, like, I can literally look at my timeline and go, we can add this story here, and this is kind of what it will be about. Because I have the story, and then I know where the other stuff is placed.
So it's really, you're getting the web in place.
So for me, it's like... My thing is I got to get the words down. The story and the backstory and all that is... The world is built, mostly.
It's like the structure's there, the main...
Yeah.
I dig that.
Well, anyways...
So if we ever found that'd be your lost notes.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That'd be really cool.
In the Ethernet somewhere.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Should we land this plane? All right, we're coming in for a landing. So, thank you for listening to the first episode of the Writing Quest podcast. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, things you want to say, let us know. Put it in the comments. Maybe we'll take questions if anyone had a question.
Dude, that'd be so awesome.
Put a question in the comments and we'll address the question in the next one.
It's true.
Do that.
Yeah, they'll give us more stuff to talk about. We want to talk about it. I mean, in 10 years, aren't you going to want to be the person that, commented on some of our earliest videos?
So, homework for next time, got to hear about Mistborn.
Got to hear about Mistborn. I'm excited.
Thinking about. And then kind of an update on other projects.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for joining us. And this is Writing Quest. Huzzah!
Huzzah!